Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome to the show, everybody. I just have to tell you, this is one of the most consequential shows that you're going to hear on the Brushwood Media Network, certainly today, but maybe for a long time. I've got two people that I just simply adore that are with us today. I'm going to introduce, first of all, Mary Jackson. Now, she's a podcaster. She's got her own, she's a radio host. She has her own show on Brushwood Media Network that airs on Saturdays and Sundays. So please check that out. She also is an author. She is an advocate for autism and other special needs. She works tirelessly for her children, who two of them are budding superstars in their own making of music superstars, and that is Sisters J. And the reason that she's here, this is the first time that I get to have her as a co-host. And the reason that she's here is because a couple weeks ago, I said to her, because our special guest today was kind enough to volunteer to come on my show. I'm not sure why he would do such a thing, but he volunteered to come on my show. And so I was talking to Mary, and I said, guess what? I'm going to have this special guest come on. And she said, oh, I love him. He's my favorite. And so I said, so do you want to interview him with me? And we were doing this via text. And there was silence. And then she said, seriously? And I said, yes, of course. I would love for you, because in my world, if you give away something to make somebody else happy, you're making your own self happy at the same time. And so she wanted her mother, by the way, hi Mom. Her mother is also an avid fan of Gary, and I used his name. I wasn't supposed to. In any event, I wanted to welcome Mary to the show, and I know that you've been looking forward to this since the moment that I mentioned it. So, Mary, welcome to the show.
Kevin, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here with you because we both love to interview people so much and their backstories, and sharing that with the world, and trying to bring some positive, we'll call it positive vibes, into our world. And so I'm just excited to do this with you. You're a dear friend of mine, and we're on a great adventure together. And yes, when you text me that, I was like, what? Because I've been such a huge fan for so long. And absolutely, there's one book of his that just really got me through a period of time in my life. And so we are talking about the Mr. Gary Zukav. And I'm just like, never in my wildest dreams did I ever think I'd get to meet you, let alone be able to talk to you about your life and your journey. I mean, I'm just kind of still pinching myself. So we want to introduce just this magnificent human in our world that we have the privilege and honor of getting to talk to today, don't we?
It is absolutely phenomenal. Now, I have to tell you that I have interviewed Gary and Linda Francis before, way back in the day in 2003. They were sensational then. Gary's sensational now. It's just amazing the types of the when you read. So actually, what I want to do now is, Mary, I want you. This is my gift to you. Please introduce Gary Zukav and welcome to the show.
Okay. Well, we would like to welcome to Positive Talk Radio on Brushwood Media, Mr. Gary Zukav. Okay, play the drums.
I don't have drums. I've got
Okay,
applause.
Okay, let's do applause. All right.
And Gary, how are you today, young man?
I am well. Thank you both for this invitation. I appreciate being with you.
Oh, we're so grateful to have you here, and so looking forward to this.
You know, I have to say that because, and I experienced this earlier in the week with another guest, you've been around for a while. And so there may be people that are under the age of 40 who don't necessarily know the complete story and your works and your friendship with that that talk show host that had a show for 25 years. You were on the show more than anybody else that's ever been on the show. Your book is her favorite book. I'm talking, of course, about Oprah Winfrey and that in your life. Can you kind of give us a thumbnail sketch of how you came to be and all the things that you've done since, I believe, 1979?
Well, I think the timeline runs farther back than that.
I think it must.
79 was when I wrote my first book. It was called The Dancing Woolly Masters. And it's about quantum physics, and it's for people who don't like science. In other words, it's for liberal arts majors like I. And I really, well, let me put this in the most relevant current terms that I can. My life partner and spiritual partner, Linda Ann Francis, passed on about 1.5 years ago. And this was a big surprise to me. She had a stroke. And that was the most pain I've ever experienced. I didn't know that pain could exist like that. And I know with every fiber of me that whatever happens in my life happens for my spiritual growth. And I decided that I was not going to squander this pain. It was so big. It was like a mountain. I couldn't climb it. I couldn't go around it, through it, or under it. And it wasn't moving. It was just there. And by not squander it, I mean not distract myself in any way. Anyway, and that continued for a couple of days. And at the end of, sometime in the second or third day, I was sitting outside and watching the branches of a tree move in the breeze. And this thought came to me. I don't have a reason for living anymore except to love people. Now, I probably said that before this happened. And I'm sure that to the best of my ability then I meant it. But now it's so. And that was the beginning of a new experience for me. I've had several major experiences in my life that have changed me dramatically and positively. One of them was meeting a non-physical teacher and experimenting with that teacher for 40 years. Another was meeting Linda. That was amazing because before then, I didn't want a partner. Before that, I was addicted to sex and I wanted to be alone. And meeting Linda changed everything. And the love that we experienced for 27 years was a love that I didn't think existed. It was so easy. That doesn't mean that when frightened parts of our personalities were active, that was easy. But the love itself was complete. I couldn't love her more. I couldn't love her less. I love her. And I had this interesting experience too, and I still have it. Never had I loved someone before, but when I met Linda and we decided to be together, I realized, I experienced that I love loving Linda. Now, where did that come from? We hadn't met, so obviously we'd been together in other times and places. So I found that these changes in my life kept happening, and I wasn't asking for them. I wasn't working for them. They just kept happening. For example, Linda and I had told everyone for years, because we had been taught for years to teach, that everyone is in the Earth School. That's a domain of time and space and matter and duality. And that We are souls that incarnate into the earth school. And when the soul decides to return home to non-physical reality like Linda's did, we return to non-physical reality. And I was taking care of all the finances that Linda formerly was doing. And I was driving out of a bank parking lot, and suddenly I woke up in the earth school. I didn't have the idea of it. I didn't think about it. It was a grounded, substantial, solid experience of suddenly being awake, just like you wake in the morning and you realize, I'm awake. And I looked across the street. There were still people walking on the sidewalk. There were still cars stopped at a red light at the next corner. But everyone that I was watching was still asleep. And I was greatly surprised at how asleep they were and how asleep I was before I woke up. And then the next day, I realized that the earth school I woke up in is exactly like the earth school that I was asleep in. And the next day, I realized that I was exactly the way I was before I woke up in the earth school. Before I woke up, my mission, my vision, my contract in life was to cultivate love and challenge fear, to create authentic power. And after I woke up, my mission was to cultivate love and challenge fear, create authentic power. So these are some of the things that have been happening. And I'm giving them to you because they're the most current things. And by the way, I wrote about these things because I wanted to write them while they were happening, so I wouldn't need to reach back from memory later. And I asked the team a few months ago to put these things that I wrote on our website, and they did. I wrote 11 personal messages. So if any of our visitors in these radio shows are interested in this experience, then you can read these personal messages. It's on our website, named after my best known book, I think, The Seat of the Soul, like SEAT, which you sit on, of the SOUL. So the website is called seatofthesoul.com. And when you go there, go to the menu, a little pancake in the upper right. And when you click on it, you'll see Celebration of Linda Francis. And when you click on that, you'll see a video that the support team, our closest co-creators, created to celebrate Linda. And then after that, you'll also be able to click on a link that says Gary's personal messages, or read them, something like that. Let me know by contacting me through the website if you do that, and if they're helpful to you. I hope they will be, because there's no one alive for very long that doesn't have someone in their life whose soul returns home to non-physical reality. It could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a child, but it's going to be a jolt. And you might think that that jolt comes from the love that you had and the love that you felt, but it doesn't. It comes from fear. It comes from need. It comes from missing the way that person was in the world, because there are parts of you that associate your illusory comfort and safety with the way that that person used to be. That has nothing to do with your love for that person. Now you're in a position to start experiencing new things about love, and they're amazing, and you are amazing.
Gary, first of all, I want to thank you for coming here. I'm please accept my heartfelt sympathy for the loss of Linda. She was a beautiful person. She was a great interview. The two of you were awesome together. And
True story. But I'm interrupting you because there's no need for condolences or sorrow. We made the video about Linda to show people At the end of an incarnation in the Earth School, the death of a personality is not something to be grieved or lost or longed for. It's a time to celebrate a life that has been lived in the Earth School, to celebrate an incarnation that was voluntary. When a soul incarnates into the Earth School, it's voluntary, and it is a dramatic act of spiritual responsibility. So thank you, Kevin. But I also want to share this. I am in touch with Linda.
Of course you
And
are.
that pain was done. Yes, I know seems like every fourth person has lost someone. They think they've lost someone, but they say, oh, is she still in my life, or I'm still talking with her? Well, some of them really are thinking that. If they're multisensory, which is the new consciousness, they are. But in this case, it was very confusing to me because I could speak with Linda, but I still missed her. And the loneliness was bone deep. Now that didn't make sense, and I couldn't make sense of it, but it was happening. So eventually, this new relationship with the soul that was the incarnation of Linda Francis became more familiar and comfortable to me. But the first thing that I did was in 2 weeks, I was able to speak to our non-physical teacher. And I was sort of daydreaming. I was thinking, oh, the love that Linda and I had and have that's what I was thinking then, is so remarkable. But I knew it was is so remarkable. And it was all focused on one precious beloved. And that's when our teacher started to speak. And that's unusual because usually I meditate and ask to speak. And he said, now, Gary, let your love encompass all your beloveds. And I said, why am I hurting so much? And he said, a frightened part of your personality, many of them, demand that the world be different than it is, that Linda be back in it in the way that they are accustomed to. That has nothing to do with your love for Linda. Let it go. Your love for Linda is beyond the Earth School, not a part of the Earth School and far beyond it. Co-create with her. That's one of the only 2 times in all these decades that this teacher has told me to do something. Very rare. He said, co-create with her. And something came up in me like the ocean. And with every ounce of will that I have, or it has, it said, through tears and snot and laughing and crying, I will co-create with you, beloved. I will co-create with you. I don't know how. I don't know how the book that I'm writing now will fit into that, but I will co-create with you. And Linda said, the book that you are writing now will be the prelude to what we co-create. And those were her first words to me, after her soul returned home. It's been continuing since. And that's what those personal messages are about. And I love to share them. And if I could, Kevin, could I say that the reason this is happening, that I'm speaking with you and Mary, and that we're on a podcast or radio shows with people listening, if they're listening, they have the new consciousness. There is a new consciousness emerging in humankind. This is what Linda and I discussed with you in 2003, because it was so then, and it's so now, except it is so much more evident. So many more people have the new consciousness. An entire generation has arrived since Linda and I began to share this good news.
Very true.
And within a couple more generations, everyone will be multisensory. And when an individual is multisensory, they are not confined to the five senses.
No.
Now, people in our age grew up, most of us, confined to the five senses, to the old consciousness. And the old consciousness looked at power as ability to manipulate and control. The new consciousness is not confined to the five senses. Most of the individuals who've been born in the last generation, that would mean millennials, are multisensory. That is, they already know this, whether they're thinking about it or not. So what I love to do, and Linda and I did, is help them recognize the new consciousness and how to use it, because for them, it's not new, it's consciousness. For those of us who were five sensory, this is the new consciousness. And that's what I love to talk about. And that's why I love being on your shows and your podcast, to share that news. Now, the thing is, there are thousands of millions of people that know that because the new consciousness is in them. But what can you do with it? A new kind of power comes with the new consciousness, the potential of a new kind of power. And that is the alignment of your personality with your soul. And you have to create this yourself. It doesn't just come as a gift, as multisensory perception has come and is coming as a gift. And these are the things that I love to talk about.
And I think you're absolutely correct. And Mary, I'd love your thoughts.
Well, I agree 100%. The children that we have now on this planet are different than our generation. They're completely different, and they're more accepting of themselves, I believe. I know all three of my kids are very multisensory and have been their whole life this way, and it's just very much a part of our lives. They see the spirit world, they see things, they feel things, their experiences have been very profound. And in my life with my children, and in my life growing up, it was too. I think something that's really important that you touched on was um, about the loss of your wife, was that you sat in it, and you owned it, the grief. You didn't go straight back to work or start cleaning the house or whatever it is that you get to push all that down. I think that's really important for people to hear, because I think we all have an aversion to anything that's other than what feels good. And so being able to sit in that until you can process on to the next thing is really, really important for healing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Um, I would say that I didn't just sit in it, I felt it. I
Yes.
opened to it. I decided not to squander any of it. And it produced things in me that I never could have dreamed.
Wow. That is so beautiful. And I love, when you first started talking about authentic power years ago, because has it almost been 30 years since you started writing?
The Seed of the Soul was published in 89.
Yeah. And I remember reading, and I remember seeing you talk about it, and I remember it resonating so much in me, like, oh, this is the language. This is this is it. This is what I know I felt in my body, and that felt like, okay, I get what he's saying. I understand it, but it was not anything in mainstream. And now I think it's really amazing how much all of this is so much more in mainstream conversation. At least it seems that way, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I get the opportunity, Gary, to talk to many people, over 2,000 people in the last 3 or 4 years, and most of them, it's amazing to me because I know the stories, and everybody tells me the same things. They don't know each other. There's no book that they went to. This is all the things that they are discovering for themselves, that is being brought forth to them, and it's all connected. It's all the same. It's all part of the same equation, the same puzzle. It's just like when people in my world, my mother passed 2 years ago, my brother passed 3 years ago. I didn't grieve them per se because, number one, I know I'm going to see him again. Number two, I know they're not really gone. I can talk to them anytime I want to. And I don't know if everybody's life that way. Maybe I need medication. I don't know, but it for me that is that how is how it is. And I know that you having a conversation with Linda, I'm willing to bet morning, noon, and night that you are connected and you're talking to her about just how to pay the bills and just about
No,
everything.
it's not quite like that, Kevin. We don't chat.
Oh,
It's, uh, at first, I thought this can't be so. I must be delusional because I'm in so much pain.
Mm.
And I would walk up this steep hill that's by our property here, like I did with Linda every day. And each time I would say, "Are you with me, beloved?" And she'd say, "I'm with you, beloved." Well, that still didn't convince me that I was hearing her. That's what I wanted to hear, so I could have made that up. And once a frightened part of my personality was especially strong, and I told her, "Beloved, I really need to hear this morning. Are you with me?" And she said, "I'm with you. I'll tell you as many times as you ask, as many times as your heart beats." That was my first realization that I didn't make that up. But it still took a lot longer to make it real. And what it is not talking about the groceries or how are you feeling today. And sometimes we can communicate verbally, but sometimes I'll know something and I know where it comes from. I know it's coming from Linda. And sometimes I feel as though I'm acquiring some of her great heart. Uh, the most remarkable thing that most people, I think, saw about her, and I did, was how open she is to people, how she relates to them immediately, whether it's on a plane, whether it's at an event. She loves being with people, and they love being with her. So that has grown in substance. I know that's a funny word to use to talk about communication with somebody who does not have a body. First of all, it's not Linda that I'm talking with, it's her soul. Linda Francis was an incarnation, the incarnation of a soul. That incarnation is gone. It's dead. It's not coming back. It's ashes and dust. But the soul that was that incarnation, that chose that incarnation, the energy, the love, the voice, that's real. And that's what you can continue to communicate with. So sometimes if I'm really depressed, which means if a frightened part of my personality is especially strong, and I say something like, "Well, I'll be glad to be with you again, beloved. I can count on it." She will say, "You are with me, beloved. You are always with me." So that doesn't happen very much anymore. And slowly, I'm beginning to realize that I would rather be who I am now than who I was when I was with Linda. I have wished that I could be who I am now when I was with Linda because I could have loved her in a different way. I could have supported her. I could have taken some of her load. But that's not possible because I am who I am now because Linda's soul went home. And she knows that. And I know that. And I was sort of contained in a role when I was with Linda. And it was comfortable. It was there. I had frightened parts that I didn't see, and I'm seeing more clearly now about her and about me. But I would not go back to that role. She was the one who was vibrant, who was easily, deeply connecting with people without effort. I was the one who was slightly famous and could be withdrawn and quiet and not so conversational. I was sort of getting encrusted in that role. It's gone now, just as Linda's incarnation is gone now.
if I can make a conjecture here, and that would be first of all, a marginally or semi-famous or whatever term you used is incorrect. You have affected millions of people on this planet and millions of lives. And your experience with Linda, and although it's evolved past where it was when she was here physically, I really think that because of who you are, because of dealing with the grief and moving forward through that in those conversations that you've had with her and your spirit guides, that there's another book or two in you that will be impactful to people in a real meaningful way who understand that it when, okay, I was gonna preach here, so I'm not gonna. But Mary, what do you think? I think there's another couple of books in here.
I agree. Absolutely. And I guess Gary would probably agree he had to go through the journey that he's been on in order to write them, wouldn't you, Gary?
All of them.
Yes.
So for all of them. And I am writing a book now. I started writing it with Linda's help when we were in the Earth School together. And by the way, I published one in 2021 with Linda's help called Universal Human. That's the latest one that you can get. And thank you for those kind thoughts. I accept them. It's a joy. It's a joy to be where I am. I don't consider it any better than where anybody else is, but I do know that before I became who I am now, I didn't enjoy life as much as I do now. I didn't look forward to being with people. I didn't look forward to seeing how I can support them. I didn't look forward to thinking, how can I write these words to support them? Well, that I did. That I did do in my sort of previous lifetime that I've lived in this Earth School. Well, there's only one in the Earth School.
Isn't it amazing when you think about the experiences that you have? And I want everybody to understand you've been on the planet for a little while now.
Just a little while.
Just a little while.
Well, my incarnation is 81, as the Sioux would say, or the Lakota. I've been here. It's been here for 81 winters. But I want to suggest that I am older than that. I'm timeless.
Oh yeah.
I existed before time. And you did also.
I was
Now, this is part of the new consciousness that I want to share with those who are multisensory.
It's an amazing place to be when you understand that you are more than you think you are, and that your contributions to the world can be so much more, so much greater, and you can be kind and loving and appreciate other people. It can be a never-ending thing. And okay, I have an expiration date on the bottom of my foot. I can't very well see the bottom of my foot, so I don't know when that day is. But eventually, I'm not going to be here, but I'm going to be here. And
your personality, yes, the personality that's Kevin, will cease to be.
Whether you like it or not, that's what you got. Mary, I'd love your opinion. What do you think? Because I know in Gary, and you don't know this, but in the first part of 2024, Mary's had some difficulties with friends and families, and has lost people as well. And so this is impactful for you as well, isn't it, Mary?
Now we're using this language, lost people.
Yes, I know. That's old language, right?
That is old language.
Well, it is. But the point is that words have consciousness. They carry consciousness.
They do.
And so once I'm aware of the consciousness, then I choose the words more carefully. I haven't lost Linda. And when someone tells me, oh, I just lost, or my grandmother just died, it's still so ingrained in me to say, oh, I'm so sorry. My condolences. But I don't do that anymore. I challenge that part of me. And instead I say, I'll celebrate her life with you.
I like that.
Oh, Mary, you should see how you should see how the face changes when that new possibility comes into awareness. Everything about this person changes
It's
because
beautiful.
now she can celebrate that life too without feeling that she needs to be sorry. I felt that I needed to hurt to demonstrate to myself and others how much I love Linda.
Mm.
The only thing I was demonstrating without knowing it was how much I needed Linda. That
Mm.
didn't have anything to do with my love for Linda.
Right. I think celebration of life is so 4 people I know passed from right before Christmas till January. And 2 of them were very important in my life that I was close to. So one was both of them were completely, you're shocked when they pass, especially when it's um, something like someone has a stroke while they're driving a car and it's a sudden thing. Um, but we did a celebration of life for both of these individuals. And so there was a lot of, I don't know if you know who Melanie Sofka is, who wrote Brand New Key and Look What They Did to My Song, Ma. And she was very famous in the 60s and 70s and 80s and on. But, we were on top of a mountain and she was just swaddled in cloth without a casket. And we sang and we had flowers and we sang her songs and it was just really, really beautiful to celebrate. And that's what we did. We celebrated her life and all she did here. And it totally changes the energy of everything.
It does. It does. I had the last personal message that I wrote, and it was the last one because I'm still working on that one. It was I was talking to a teacher, our second one, and saying, "Well, when am I going?" I was told that my communications with Linda would be more substantial, more satisfying, more this and I finally said, "Well, when will that happen?" I didn't finally. I said it several times, and each time the answer would be patient. Be patient. And they tell me why I should be patient with metaphors. You're like a growth, a plant that's just coming out of the ground. It's breaking the surface of the earth and it's got to grow and have leaves and then bloom. So you're in this process. But the last time I asked, the teacher said, that will happen when you forget about missing Linda and relax into your life. And I said, but that's what I can't do while I'm missing Linda.
Mm-hmm.
And the teacher said, that's the point.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, in a sort of, with a little attitude, I think, so, well, I don't ever have attitudes toward teachers. They're precious. They are so wonderful to be with. But I said, so I'm supposed to just forget about missing Linda and enjoy myself. And the teacher said, yes. That doesn't mean you'll forget Linda. You will never forget her. And I knew he was right. He said, you are clinging. Frightened parts of your personality are clinging to the illusory experiences of safety and comfort that they associated with Linda's physical presence in the Earth School. And I knew that was right. So I told Linda, beloved, I'm going to forget about missing you. I didn't think it could happen. I didn't think I could do it, but I set the intention. And I told that to Linda. And she said, at last. And I said, so it's okay with you? Because I wanted to make sure that I heard that. And she said, it's more than okay with me. I'm thrilled. I'm happy. I'm so grateful that you're going to forget about me. And then she said, your love will bloom, beloved. It will be everywhere. which is interesting because that's what's happened. And she said, uh, do it now. Do it now, beloved. She said, I bask in not missing me, enjoy not missing me, relish not missing me. And then she said, begin now, beloved. Do it. Begin. Forget about missing me now. 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 She said it 3 times. And then she said, forget about missing me forever, because I'm here with you forever. So I set the intention to do this, even though I really didn't think it was possible. And so I started accepting invitations, like this family with 3 children love me and I love them. And so they'd invite me to Thanksgiving gathering where there's the great grandma and mom and the cousins, and it was so good being with them that at one point in that evening, I suddenly realized, oh, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm enjoying myself. And I'm not missing Linda. And it was just a small part of that evening, but I did it and I knew I could do it. And I started doing that again and again. And now I can do it longer and longer. And now it's becoming part of who I am. And I've discovered that there are times that I really don't miss Linda. Just as though when I'm at the grocery store or the co-op and I'm buying groceries and I'm not missing her because I know where she is and I'm gonna drive back. Or that she drove maybe to San Francisco to get a CEU for her chiropractic license. So more and more of my life is becoming enjoying myself and not missing Linda. And I'm happy to share this because this is all part of the new consciousness. And there's more. But I want to share this as much as possible with all the people who are listening, because everything I'm describing about me is you. You are going there. You, without knowing it, are there. So don't think that I'm special or anything that I've described is something that doesn't apply to you. In fact, I suggest that you not take anything that I say on this on these shows or these podcasts or ever just because I wrote a book or I've been on television. But instead, if you resonate with anything, experiment with it. And if it produces something good in your life, experiment some more, because that's what your life is for. And if you don't resonate with anything, let it go. Don't try to wear a shoe that pinches.
If I could run something by you and see if this resonates with you, and you too, Mary, and
Yeah.
which is, if the reverse was true, if it was you who had transitioned to the next life, and you knew where you were, and you were good and you were happy and you were fine, and you looked at your beloved who was here and they were grieving deeply and they were not living their life fully anymore because their grief was so great that they couldn't see anything around it, they couldn't do anything with their life. Wouldn't you want to say, please live your life while you're there? You're going to be here soon enough. Live your life like every day matters to you, and be kind to each other, and to really make an impact. That's what they would be saying if if you were there and she were here. That's what you'd be telling her, wouldn't it be?
Yes, it is. And I had, yes, it would. And by the way, it's not there. There is no elsewhere.
Well,
It's
true.
just not living another life. That's something, incarnations happen in the earth school. And outside of the earth school, there's no time or space or matter or duality. But I was writing, just writing one night when I got up and couldn't sleep. And as I was writing, the writing shifted from my thoughts to these words. You have not lost me! Exclamation mark. I am here with you now. Understand that. Accept that. Believe that. Act on that. Act with that. And then the word stopped.
Wow.
That's from Linda. Now, just exactly as you were saying it, Kevin, I realized that if I were in Linda's position, if I were in non-physical reality, in that consciousness, where there's oneness, where there's joy, where there's completeness, where there's other things that are not part of five sensory consciousness. If our positions were reversed, just as you said, I thought to myself, what words would I pick to tell Linda? And it was the same words, word for word for word. She couldn't have been more direct, more supportive, more empowering.
Right.
Not,
And she doesn't want to see you suffer.
she does not caretake me. A soul does not have the experiences of frightened parts of personalities. She loves me, but she knows I don't know what the experience of a soul is, but I know it's not limited in any of the ways that we are in the Earth School. And once a frightened part of my personality was active, you can always tell a frightened part. It originates in fear because it hurts when you develop emotional awareness somatically, which you'll learn how to do. We wrote a book called The Heart of the Soul, which shows you how to do that. It's pretty easy.
Great book.
And I'm chasing a little pop-up here.
And, Mary, I love your thoughts. What do you think about all this?
Got it. Well, what I wanted to say is,
okay.
This is what Linda told me. And that is the place where I realized I'm not delusional. I wasn't ever. And I'm not just making this up now. My beloved has just told me exactly what I would tell her if our positions were changed. And once before that, what I was starting to say is I had a frightened part of my personality that was self-deprecating. Frightened parts of your personality are self-loathing. They're more than self-deprecating. And I was thinking of all the ways I could have loved Linda differently or supported her. And I said, beloved, I'm surprised that you even tolerated me for as long as you did. And she said, I didn't tolerate you, beloved. I love you.
See, that's an incredible message. And I'm going to tell you again, I want you to write several books about this because it really needs,
Yes.
I'm going to keep you busy until you're 120. And
Yeah. At least, right? I know there's so much wisdom that's still yet to come. I truly believe, and we want you to share that with us. It's beautiful, and it's very special what you have. Very special.
I am writing one now, and I want to remind you that you are all of these things. You are multisensory and you're moving in a direction now that you can now influence. You couldn't so much when you were five sensory. Now, when you can recognize a frightened part of your personality, know that it will create destructive and unhealthy consequences when you act on it. For example, anger, jealousy, resentment, superiority, entitlement, inferiority, need to please, every obsession, compulsion, and addiction. These are parts of your personality. They're not experiences coming from the ground of your being, but from parts of your personality. And you have other parts of your personality that you experience as gratitude, appreciation, caring, contentment, patience, all of the universe. These are the parts of your personality that are the loving parts. And the new consciousness allows you to see them as they become active in you, and to challenge the frightened part and cultivate the loving part, whatever it is. So, for example, if you're angry or jealous, you can feel it, and it feels painful, physically painful, in different energy processing centers that are called chakras in the East. And the thoughts that that part is thinking will always be judgmental and comparative. For example, oh, I can't do that. I'm not that good. Or she's so stupid. Or I'm so stupid. This is what frightened parts of personalities think, and they try to change the world. That's the pursuit of external power, the ability to control and manipulate. But loving parts are the opposite. They feel good to experience. There's some physical sensations are the kind that you want more of. And their thoughts are appreciative and caring and grateful, and just the things that I said. Those are the loving parts of your personality, and that's what they feel, and that's what they think, and that's how they see the world. And as we become multisensory, which is everyone now, within the next 2 generations, it will be everyone in our species. We can choose, we can experience love when it's active in us and fear when it's active. And choose to challenge fear by experiencing it fully, never by suppressing it, repressing it, denying it, but experiencing it as fully as you can, completely as you can. And while you're doing that, put your attention in a loving part of your personality, one that's patient or caring or knows that it's loving or knows a time when it was loved, and choose to act from that part of your personality instead of the frightened part. That's the moment of creating authentic power. And the more you do that, the more the frightened part begins to lose its control over you.
It's true.
Yes.
I was going to ask you, Gary, what could you give people listening today um, a very simple thing to do to start in the direction of what you're teaching, and those people who are listening who are not familiar with your work? Everybody's grasping and looking. We have lots of individuals who've gone through, all of us went through the pandemic. It created a lot of fear in the world, a lot of fear within people, and there was loss, and there was loss in lots of different ways for folks, businesses, and all kinds of things, because that's their experience and how they see it. But I wanted, yes, it's very important to give them some kind of guidance. And what can they apply today in their life that would give them
You
hope?
can start by applying your new perspective. The fear did not begin with COVID. The fear is a part of being human. All humans, 5 sensory and multisensory, have the pain of powerlessness. This is the pain of feeling that you're not adequate. The pain of feeling that you want to be loved, but you're unlovable. You want to love people, but you're not capable. You don't want people to see you inside the way you see yourself because they won't want anything to do with you. It's knowing that you're intrinsically flawed, you're inherently defective, and it's excruciating. When we were 5 sensory, the old consciousness, we tried to mask that pain by changing the world. That's what frightened parts do. They pursue external power. They try to change the world. If a child dies, they conceive another. If a business collapses, they build another. If a relationship unravels, they find someone else. That doesn't work. Temporarily, you can find a little happiness there, but it doesn't last. Now that we're multisensory, when we experience the pain of powerlessness, the same pain, we look inward instead of outward. Because we know that the pain we're feeling is not caused by the outside world. The outside world activates a dynamic inside us, and that dynamic creates the pain. And when you look inward, and that's what you do when you create authentic power, you are changing those dynamics in you, and that's permanent, and that's joy. You begin to experience a feeling of joy that, unlike happiness, is not dependent on the external world. You ignite like a sun in you, and it's independent of the world, no matter what's happening in the world. Creating authentic power is developing the ability to distinguish within yourself between love and fear, and choose love no matter what is happening inside yourself or what is happening outside yourself. What's happening inside yourself may be hopelessness, despair, jealousy, resentment, rage. What's happening outside of you may be a natural catastrophe, a wildfire out of control, like the one in Hawaii, or a hurricane. No matter what happens inside you or outside you, you can choose love, because you can do what I've just described. You can use your emotional awareness to recognize fear in you, and you can use your volition while you're doing that to move your attention to a loving, healthy, constructive part of your personality, and choose to act on that part of your personality while you're experiencing the pain of the frightened part. That's creating authentic power. So fear did not begin with COVID. It began with your incarnation. And in fact, that it began far beyond that, long beyond that. When you're experiencing something, a frightened part of your personality specifically, you think that it has to do with something that's happening in the outside world. It doesn't. It has to do with this internal dynamic. But that internal dynamic may have its origins before you were born. It may have its origins 400 years ago. But it's in your present now. And that's what you're challenging. So don't be distracted in thinking that you want to change the world to make yourself feel better. Use it to change you from fearful to loving. That's what I would suggest. But I would suggest that whatever I've said that you resonate with, go back over it. Remember what it is you resonated with. And if you're not sure, read The Seat of the Soul, or go to the website, The Seat of the Soul, and read some of the things on it, or take a course. We have online courses that we're creating now on emotional awareness, how to do that, and responsible choice, how to do that. And we have a course on the Authentic Power Guidelines. That's a great one. That's one that Linda created, the Authentic Power Guidelines. It takes commitment, courage, compassion, conscious communication and actions to create authentic power. The most important thing is your intention. That's always the most important thing. Creating authentic power requires commitment. It requires courage. It requires those things. But everything that you do has an intention. If you're not aware of the intention, it's coming from fear. And if it's coming from fear, it's creating destructive consequences for you. And when you encounter them, you say, well, why me? Why am I experiencing this? I didn't intend that. You intended it, but you were not aware when you intended it. That's what an unconscious intention means. To create love, to create with love, requires awareness. You do it intentionally with awareness. You put your attention out of a frightened part of your personality, not out of it, you're still experiencing it, but you move your attention into a loving part and act from that. That's how you create a loving part. And as you begin to do that, you become able to give the gifts that you were born to give. You can't do that while you're in anger or jealousy or despondency.
By
But
the way,
when
I just wanted to make sure that we're talking with Gary Zukav, and he's talking about his website and all the things you can do there. Go to seatofthesoul.com, and you can get all of his books, all of the things. I'm looking at Celebrating Linda. That's a beautiful page. And Gary, I want to honor your time because we're approaching about an hour. I could talk to you all night long, but I wanted to give Mary an opportunity to tell you something from her heart. I know she's dying to do that. Mary?
Oh, I am? Of
I
course
think
I am.
I think she's living to do that.
Yes, she's living to do that.
Oh, my goodness, y'all
What
are so
are you
funny.
living for? That's a question. And if you don't like it, then look at why you're living for that. And it'll be a frightened part of your personality. And you can discover that, experience it, and move beyond its control. You can become authentically powerful. That's what you were born to do. You're multisensory now. Move yourself toward love. That's the creation of authentic power.
And I want to tell you something.
It's really
I know
beautiful.
Mary a little bit. She is full of authentic power. She is a dynamo. She's growing, and as are you. And I want to personally thank you. Will you come back? Can we have another discussion with you on another day?
Of course, I would love to do that.
That would be
I love
beautiful.
sharing about authentic power, and I love supporting people in creating it.
And this is really good for mothers. I think it's challenging for moms, because we want to protect and take care of, and the world is a different place, but we have to surrender to this that you're talking about and teach our children. It's so important to teach our children what you're speaking about so that they can be whole, healthy humans going into their world that may not contain us. And it's going to be a different world than what it is right now. So,
Children have always been that way, haven't they? Are you familiar with Khalil Gibran, who
yes.
wrote the beautiful book, The Prophet? He
Yes,
said,
I love that book.
long before our species became and is becoming multisensory, but now it's especially true. And yes, how to parent children who are inherently wise, how to fulfill your responsibility as a parent. You cannot go in the street. Don't eat sugar. It's bad for you. Is that coming from love or coming from fear? Early in the lives of their personalities, they're preconceptual, so they understand none of these words. But you can model this,
Mhm.
and they will learn, and you will learn from them.
Absolutely. And teach them about the words I use with my children is to not be in fear, but be in awareness because it has a different energy with it.
Are you
Right.
trying to tell me that I need to tell my children not to have sugar means that I can't have sugar too?
You can decide that for yourself, but that's one of the most famous stories about Gandhi. When a woman brought her child and said, Gandhi, please tell him not to eat sugar. And he said, come back in 2 weeks. And he told the child in 2 weeks, don't eat sugar. It's not good for you. And the mother said, Gandhi, why didn't you tell him 2 weeks ago? And Gandhi said, because I was eating sugar.
I love Gandhi's story. That's very funny. And it's true. And children don't want to hear that. But yes, so
Thank you both for inviting me. I'm
mm,
honored and I'm
thank
so grateful for this opportunity.
thank you so much, Gary. It's such an honor to meet you in this life and to have read your words throughout my life on my own spiritual journey and what they've meant to me, and how being able to hear a language being written that you can feel resonating inside you is truth. even though maybe people around you weren't talking that same way, back in those days. Now I'm more around people who have the same language. But I think for those out there in the world, Gary's words resonate with so many people, and sometimes it's their awakening, and they go, wow, okay, that really, I feel that, you know? And so it's been pretty significant in my life. And Seed of the Soul, I actually am rereading it. So it's got its little highlights in it and written in it. And it's a very loved book.
Yeah. Thank you,
Well,
Mary.
Thank you for writing it. Thank you for being here today. We're so grateful.
we are, and I do have to say though that the next time you're here, we're going to have to talk about the Oprah Winfrey stories, and I know you must have a few.
Yes,
Being
I
in,
have many. Oprah's a magnificent and a wonderful person.
do you know that she still is running your shows on the Ohm network, and the shows that she did with you, the 36 of them that you did on over the Oprah Winfrey Show, she's still running those shows. That's how important your work is to her. You're the number one author for her. Seed of the Soul is her number one book of all time, and it changed the show. Your book
Did.
changed her perception of what she should be doing with the show, and it made it so much better.
Oh,
Well,
I
I love
know.
Oprah, and I love talking about Oprah because she's remarkable. And I also love talking about what's happening in your life. I also love talking about what is happening in the lives of the people who are listening to these shows. And that is what they can change. Only Oprah can change Oprah, and she does. Only you can change you. Are you, or are you continuing to react to the frightened parts of your personality that come into being and that come into your awareness? That is what I would like to leave as a
Mm.
as a thought for our listeners.
You're an amazing man, sir.
We got work to do. Kevin, we got work to do, right?
Uh, life is a grand adventure.
I
Yes,
know.
indeed.
And
I'm glad to be on.
seedofthesoul.com. Go to them. Gary, thank you for being here. We'll be in contact. We want to do more.
Thank you, Gary.
Take care.
Blessings.
Thank you.
And that's that. And then I will edit that, and away we go. So, Gary, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate you.
Oh, you are welcome, Kevin. Thank you, Mary. It's
Oh,
really a joy
appreciate
to,
so
to
much.
share with you.
Oh my gosh, we appreciate you so much. And I want to go check out some of the courses that you have. Absolutely. Because I would love to we're on this ever growing journey, aren't we? Of evolution. And so
Ever evolving. Yes. And when you do that, would you let me know what you think about the courses that you take, which one you like, or which one you thought was better than another, or are they all good, or are they so, whatever whatever your interactions. Those courses were co-created by our people I and Linda, and people who have been creating authentic power with us for 18 or 20 years. And we've done our best to make sure that every sentence in those courses is accurate and empowering to the extent we can. The rest is up to you.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I will let you know. And I'm excited about that. So I'm really grateful. Really grateful.
Okay, Mary.
Okay.
I love you both. Take care.
We love you too. Have a blessed night. Happy
Thank you.
Easter.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you.
Hope you get a lot of eggs
Without any sugar in them.
without any sugar.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Our purpose is to provide everyone with a positive, entertaining, and educational experience. I would love your feedback and comments about the show, including possible topics and great guest suggestions. Please email me at kevin@kmmedia.pro. And remember, be kind to one another because each other's all we've got. That's Kevin@kmmedia.pro.